The history of Israel and Palestine is a story of two peoples bound by deep historical ties to the same land. It's a land that has seen ancient kingdoms rise and fall, the birthplace of Judaism and Christianity, and a key site for Islam. From the biblical times of the ancient Israelites to the conquests by Romans, Arabs, and Ottomans, this region has long been a crossroads of civilizations. But in the modern era, these ancient connections have evolved into one of the most complex and enduring conflicts in the world. In the late 19th century, as Jewish Zionism sought a return to the ancestral homeland, tensions with the Arab population in Palestine began to simmer. The collapse of the Ottoman Empire and the intervention of Western powers, particularly Britain, would set the stage for future struggles. Following the trauma of the Holocaust, the United Nations proposed a partition of the land in 1947, creating separate Jewish and Arab states. But when the State of Israel was declared in 1948, war erupted with the neighboring Arab countries. What followed was a century of conflict, displacement, and failed peace processes that has yet to find a lasting solution. In this video, we will explore how these historical roots, political dynamics, and religious identities have shaped the modern-day conflict, and why peace remains so elusive. Canaan, 3000 BCE. The name Canaan appears through the Bible as a geography associated with the Promised Land. The land known as Canaan, where modern Israel and Palestine are located. Israelites, 1200 BCE. Following the call of Lord Abraham, Isaac and Jacob settled in Canaan, later known as the Land of Israel. Later, the united monarchy under Saul, David, and Solomon. They established Kingdom of Israel. Solomon, the son and successor of King David. Solomon is portrayed as wealthy, wise, and powerful king as one of the 48 Jewish prophets. Solomon built the first temple in Jerusalem at 1000 BC, dedicating the temple to Yahweh or God. After the death of Solomon, the kingdom split into two, part Israel, north, and Judah, south. Assyrian Empire. The Assyrian Empire conquered the northern kingdom of Israel in 722 BCE. This event marked the fall of Israel. The Assyrians, known for their military prowess and brutality, deported a significant portion of the Israelite population, dispersing them across the Assyrian Empire. This deportation is often referred to as the Lost Tribes of Israel, as the northern tribes effectively disappeared from history following this event. Babylonian Empire, 587 BCE. Babylonian Empire under King Nebuchadnezzar II conquered the southern kingdom of Judah. This event culminated in the destruction of First Temple, which was a central place of worship for the Jewish people. The exile lasted until 539 BCE. Persian Empire, 539 BCE. The Persian Empire, under the leadership of Cyrus the Great, conquered Babylon in 539 BCE. The Jewish exiles to return to their homeland and rebuild the temple in Jerusalem. The rebuilding of the Second Temple were significant events that to reshape Jewish identity. Hellenistic period, 332 BCE. Alexander the Great conquered the region of Judea. His conquests marked the beginning of the Hellenistic period. After the death of Alexander in 323 BCE, his empire was divided among his generals. Roman Empire, 6 CE. The Roman Republic, led by General Pompey the Great, conquered Judea. This event beginning of Roman rule over this region, where Jewish and Roman revolt, which led to the destruction of Jerusalem and the Second Temple. The Roman renamed the province Syrian-Palestine and sought to suppress Jewish identity. Constantine the Great built the first church in Jerusalem, Church of the Holy Sepulchre. This church, built on the site traditionally believed to be the location of Jesus' crucifixion burial, resurrection, become the primary Christian site in Jerusalem. From there, Christianity spread in whole region. The early Islamic period, 634 to 1099. The early Islamic period of Judea, or what is today Israel and Palestine. This period began with the Muslim Arab region, incorporating it into the Rashidun Umayyad Caliphates. The Umayyads is known for constructing the Dome of Rock and Al-Aqsa Mosque. The Islamic conquest led to significant demographic changes within Arab tribes and gradually Islamization of the population. Crusader, 1099 to 1291 CE. First Crusade and the capture of Jerusalem by European Christian forces, leading to the establishment of several Crusader states in the Levant, as resulting in a brutal massacre of many of the city's Muslim and Jewish inhabitants. Ayyubid Dynasty, 1291 to 1260 CE. The dynasty was founded by Saladin, one of the most famous figures in Islamic history. Saladin's victory over the Crusader forces at the Battle of Hattin and leading to the recapture of Jerusalem by Muslim forces. Ottoman conquest, 1517 to 1917 AD. Sultan Selim I, the Ottoman Empire captured the region. The Ottoman Empire conquered the region. In 1517, the area was divided into administrative district within the empire, where Jews, Christianity, and Muslim lived in harmony. The Jewish community in Palestine grew with waves of Jewish immigration, especially in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, fueled by Zionist movement and European anti-Semitism, where 10,000 of Jews moved from Europe. British period, 1917 to 1948 AD. Beginning of World War I, the Ottoman Empire was dismantled and its former territories were divided among the Allied powers. The League granted Britain the mandate to govern Palestine, where mandate was based on the Balfour Declaration of 1917, in which British expressed their support for the establishment of a national home for the Jewish people. The growing Jewish presence and land purchase led to increasing opposition for the Arab population, where tensions erupted into violence. Mandate for Palestine. The mandate came into effect in 1923, where tension reached a peak. Jews and Arab have many riots, which saw violent attack on Jews in many places in Palestine. Peel Commission, 1937 AD. This commission proposed partitioning into separate Jewish and Arab states, with a small British-controlled corridor. This was rejected by both sides. White Paper, 1939. This British policy limited Jewish immigration to 75,000 over 5 years and restricted land sales to Jews aiming to mollify Arab concern. It was forcefully opposed by Jewish community, especially in the context of rising anti-Semitism in Europe. Holocaust. Holocaust happened in the rule of Nazi Germany, which take a life of approximately 6 million Jews people. After the Holocaust, more and more Jews people fled to Palestine for a chic of homeland. The Jewish population in Palestine grew from about 11% in 1922 to around 33% by 1947. Zionist organization purchased land, often lending to the displacement of Arab tenant farmers, which fueled tension between Jewish and Arab communities. The birth of Israel's state. After World War II, UN proposed plan to partition Palestine into independent states and separate Jewish state, Jerusalem becoming an international city with special status. The votes came in 33 countries approved. 13 countries voted against it, while 10 completely abstained from voting, and although the Arab states walked out as a form of protest. However, the plan according to which the accounting 1/3 of the population was granted more territory, 55% of land to the Jewish state and 45% to Arab state. Arabs felt this division was unfair. The Jewish community owning a small percentage of the land was grand, a large portion of the territory. Arab viewed the plan as unjust, fearing the loss of land and sovereignty, and rejected the establishment of a Jewish state in a territory they considered their own. The partition plan was adopted. On the ground, tension was high, and they continued to escalate with the massacre at Deir Yassin. While Jewish immigration, which was encouraged by the Zionists, was on the rise. Less than 1 year, British completed its withdrawal from Palestine. Israel declared itself an independent state. 1948 Arab-Israel War involved 5 recently independent Arab nation Arab forces from Egypt, Jordan, Syria, Lebanon, and Iraq marched to Palestine. This was the first time the Arab League was formed, and for what? To protect Arab-Palestine. However, ceasefire agreement was reached a year later, in which more than 2/3 of historic Palestine, including the West Jerusalem, belonged to Israel, while Jordan occupied East Jerusalem, the area known as the West Bank, and Egypt occupied the Gaza Strip. As a result, more than 750,000 Palestinians were expelled from their land, where they called the event Al-Nakba, or catastrophe. Palestinians lived under refugee camps in neighboring Arab countries or under Jordanian and Egyptian control in the West Bank and Gaza Strip. Six-Day War, 1967. The neighboring Arab state of Egypt, Jordan, and Syria. The war dramatically changed the territorial Israel-captured Gaza Strip and Sinai Peninsula from Egypt, West Bank and Jerusalem from Jordan, and Golan Heights from Syria. Israel began settling in the occupied territories. Palestine Liberation Organization, PLO, was created in 1964 in Cairo, Egypt. It initially sought to establish an Arab state over the entire territory of the former Mandatory Palestine. The PLO launched attackers on Israel from it, based Jordan. It was then forced to move from Jordan to Lebanon and starting attacking from there. Yom Kippur War, 1973. Yom Kippur War fought from October 6th to 25th, 1973. That attack secretly planned a coordinated surprise attack on Israel to reclaim the Sinai Peninsula and the Golan Heights from Israel, which is captured by Israel after Six-Day War in 1967. In November 1977, President Anwar Sadat of Egypt initiated direct contacts with Israel and made dramatic visit to Jerusalem. Sadat met with senior Israeli officials, including Prime Minister Menachem Begin.
Bismillah, Sayyid, Ayyuha as-Sayyidat was-Sadat.
Camp David Accords, 1978. The leaders of Egypt and Israel met with President Jimmy Carter at the presidential retreat at Camp David, Maryland. The meeting gave birth to Camp David, Accord, a framework for peace in the Middle East. Egypt agreed to recognize Israel as a country. In 1979, Anwar Sadat and Menachem Begin signed a permanent peace agreement based off the Camp David Accords, while Israel returned Sinai Peninsula to Egypt. First Intifada, 1987. The First Intifada began in 1987 at Jabalia refugee camps after an Israeli truck collided with a civilian car and killed 4 Palestinians. This incident sparked widespread protests and riots, initially in Gaza, and then spreading to the West Bank. Oslo Accord, 1993. The Oslo process began after a secret negotiations in Oslo, Norway, in 1992. As resulting in both the recognition of Israel by the PLO and recognition by Israel of the PLO, the Oslo Accords were subsequently officially signed at a public ceremony in Washington, D.C. on 13 September 1993, in the presence of PLO Chairman Yasser Arafat, Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin, and U.S. President Bill Clinton. Israel continues the settlement in West Bank. Oslo II Accord, 1995. Oslo II signed on September 28, 1995 in Taba, Egypt, where the West Bank was divided in 3 areas. Area A, which is fully controlled by Palestine. Area B, it is controlled by Palestinian and Israel. Area C, it is controlled by Israel only. Camp David Summit 2000. The Camp David Summit of July 2000 was a significant event in the Israeli-Palestinian peace process. It was an attempt by U.S. President Bill Clinton to broker a final peace agreement between Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak and Palestinian Authority President Yasser Arafat. The summit took place at the Camp David Presidential Retreat in Maryland, USA. The summit ended without an agreement. The failure to reach a deal led to mutual recriminations, while Palestinians argued that the Israeli offers were insufficient and did not address their core concerns. The collapse of the summit contributed to the breakdown of the peace process and led to the outbreak of the Second Intifada. Second Intifada, 2000. The Second Intifada, also known as the Al-Aqsa Intifada, which began in late September 2000, which it triggered from the visit of Israeli opposition leader Ariel Sharon of the Temple Mount. Sharon's visit, which seen as provocative by many Palestinians, led by protests and clashes between Palestinian demonstrators and Israeli forces, the situation quickly escalated into widespread violence, which spreading throughout the West Bank, Gaza Strip, and inside Israel. The Second Intifada was marked by a significant increase in armed violence. Palestinian militants used firearms, suicide bombings, and rocket attacks against Israelis' targets. Israel responded with military operation, targeted assassination, and airstrikes. The Intifada did not end officially until 2005, when Prime Minister Ariel Sharon, Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas, Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak, and King Abdullah II of Jordan met in the Sharm el-Sheikh summit or formalize a ceasefire. Israel withdrew its military forces and evacuated Israeli settlers from Gaza Strip in 2005. This disengagement was a significant and controversial move, leading to a power vacuum in Gaza. In the subsequent election in 2006, Hamas won a majority in Palestinian legislative elections, leading to increased tension with the Fatah-led Palestinian Authority. This culminated in Hamas taking full control of Gaza Strip in 2007. Israel imposed a blockade on Gaza Strip. This blockade was implemented in coordination with Egypt and included restriction on the movement of goods and people in and out of Gaza. The two-group Israel and Hamas conflict in the Gaza Strip continues, where the fight including Operation Cast Lead, Operation Pillar of Defense, Operation Protective Edge, Israel-Palestine crisis, called Unity Intifada. Hamas-led attack on Israel Operation Al-Aqsa Flood, or Black Saturday, 2023, continues to maintain security control over the West Bank, with ongoing tensions and periodic violence. The political landscape is marked by debates over security, settlements, and relations with Palestinians. The West Bank is governed by the Palestinian Authority, while the Gaza Strip is controlled by Hamas. Both areas face significant economic challenges and humanitarian issues. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict remains unresolved, with periodic escalations in violence, ongoing settlement activities, and complex geopolitical implications. The pursuit of a two-state solution, or alternative resolutions, continues to be a central issue in regional and international diplomacy.